Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for joining me in your very impressive looking library.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. And I know that those are all cookbooks. So again, I'm massively impressed. And you have them all.
I have them all. There is not a cookbook I don't have.
Which is brilliant, considering that you are an Olympic chef and are in the food industry. So it's very helpful on both of those fronts. So a lot of us know you. I've known you for quite a few years now, which has been a privilege and a pleasure. Tell us about you. Mark McCann, tell us a bit about your career and your history and what's brought you to what we're about to talk about today.
Okay, so I've been chef now for probably 40 years. Far too long. Most of my training I did in London for the first sort of 10 years or so, worked through the normal sort of hotels and restaurants in London. Then I went abroad. I worked abroad for about 5 years. I worked in Bermuda, worked in America, Australia, the Far East. Ended up in the Middle East, working for King Hussein of Jordan. And that was when the first Gulf War started. I said, "Oh my God, what a time to be out in the Middle East, working for the palace." So I came back to the UK just after the Gulf War started, and I sort of fell into contract catering. It wasn't something I was looking at. I was thinking of going back into Michelin-starred restaurants and five-star hotels, but I fell into contract catering, and I sort of I really liked it, because when I worked up in London for contract catering, it was especially in the hospitality, it was very much like working in five-star hotels. So I really loved it. What I was fortunate to be able to do, I've got a lot of ambition and a lot of drive, and so I was be able to really push myself through contract catering and show them what I could do. I was fortunate at the time of contract catering when we had the opportunity to really show what we could do, show our skills, and I'd worked with a group of managers and area managers who have all gone on to open their own catering companies. And so on and so on. So we were in there at a really good time, and through a lot of this, I then developed a lot of the teams in contract catering to the point where we got a team together and we competed at the Olympics, the Berlin Olympics. I think it was 1997, I'm going to say, somewhere around there. And I think at the time we were the very first contract catering team in the whole world ever to compete at the Olympics, which was great. We really loved it, and we learned as a company, as a team, as a group of chefs, we learned a lot from that. We did very well, as a team we did very well, and we represented our company very well. And then I came back to the UK, and I opened, actually I left contract catering and I opened my own restaurant. And that was a restaurant on the Fulham Road called 755. And it was, we got all the accolades. We got 3AA rosettes, we got 5-star in Metro, we got in a Dutch Guide, we got the best top 5 restaurants, French restaurants in London, etc., etc. And then September 11th happened. I said, "Oh my God." And that sort of really sort of killed the business.
Yeah.
So it was just my money, so I couldn't keep it going. So I came back into contract catering, and at the time people like Frank Whitaker, Alistair Story and all that lot used to come to the restaurant. Alistair actually had just left Granada, I think, and he was just opening up Wilson Story Holiday, I think, at the time. And but through him, through some other people, they said, "Listen, come to Compass and speak to the boys in RA. We've just bought this small company called RA, and they're looking at a group exec chef."
Gosh.
So they approached me, and I actually started as the development chef for them, and then I became the group exec chef for public restaurants for the UK for RA. I was with them for about 5 years, and I think I learned a lot. I learned a lot with restaurant associates and the way they were and what they did. But I also got despondent with the way it was all working, with contract catering, the way contract catering was. So I so I left, uh, and I started consultancy work. So then I was a consultant for, well, up until today. So that I've been consultant, but I looked after a lot of projects globally. So I looked after sort of Thomas Cook hotels globally with a consultant partner of mine, and we used to look after hotels in Spain, Italy, the Caribbean, so on, so on. And actually, what coming back to what we're going to talk about, I did a lot of work in hospitals with a colleague of mine. And I'll go on to a story later on in that, talking to a lot of the nurses, a lot of the dietitians, a lot of the doctors about what patients have to eat and what they can't eat, and to think that in a hospital there must be about 80 or 100 different types of diets. It's sort of, I said, oh my God, there are so many people who can't eat this and so many people who can't eat that. And that actually got me thinking into what I'm doing today with Bombay Times.
Absolutely. And my favorite is that you did the food for the Alice in Wonderland film, and it still blows my mind every time I watch the film. I'm like, I know the guy who did that food.
Yes. It was, yeah, quite a lot of stuff. I used to do all the pastries. And all, yeah, we did all the cakes for the Mad Hatter's Tea Party.
I know, amazing. But that just, like you say, that wealth of knowledge and 40 years very well hidden that you've been in this industry and in food has brought you to say full circle to an entrepreneur, and to what we want to talk about today is your product and business, Bombay Times. So what is Bombay Times? Tell us a bit about that.
So basically, Bombay Times is a vegan street food, Indian food concept, which just happens to be allergen free and very healthy and nutritious for you. But predominantly, it's a regional menu written around foods from all the street food ideas from around India, and it's street food. So I've taken all the nice street food from different parts of India and put it together as a concept.
And you say it's allergen free, so is that totally free from all allergens?
Absolutely. It's totally free from all 14 allergens we've got currently. That was challenging. That was really really challenging, because Indian food is full of allergens. That's what it is. And to make it allergen free, yeah, that took like 2 years of development work on my side to try to get it to where it has got to.
Like you say, well, you are ambitious, so that's definitely ticked a box there. But often, I suppose, when people look at allergen or free from, there's always been that assumption that it doesn't taste that great. But curry is something that British culture and society have a massive love for. And it's interesting that you say that it's very regional specific, because I think that the EasyJets of the world have enabled us to travel to all these amazing places and regions and taste authentic food. And then when we come back, we want to have that authentic experience again. It's about the experience. So you've made that intentional as part of the product.
Yeah, absolutely. What's really important is our age group. We and our parents' age group, or people who just started to fly easily, cheaply over the last sort of 40 years or so, and learn about cuisines from around the world. It's my children's age group who have grown up eating more authentic food as a given. We only ate authentic food when we would go to Italy, or we'd go to India, or go to China, wherever it is, and we could get authentic food. We couldn't always get it here. Our children have grown up eating authentic food here. So if we, as people who are developing concepts, don't develop concepts that are authentically correct, it's our children who are going to eat in restaurants who are not going to come in. They're going to say, what is this rubbish? We don't eat this sort of stuff anymore. You see, so we have to come up with authentically correct concepts that the younger people feel, well, that's our norm. We know that's authentic. We know that's what we want to eat. That's why we have to do it.
And I suppose it also gives joy to the older people, because they remember that that's what it's supposed to taste like.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. So that's why I feel it's really important. And with the younger generation, yes, they want it authentically correct. Yes, but they're also thinking more than we did about the health benefits, they're also thinking more about the environment than we did. You see, we just started thinking about the environment. We just started thinking about our health benefits relatively a short time ago, 20, 30 years ago. Our children we've shown our children that that's the right way to think. So they've been born into it. So to them, that's normal. Why isn't everyone doing it, as far as they're concerned?
And you've been intentional about the recipes and the product to make them as healthy as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, genuinely, all the recipes that we first developed, myself, and then my chef and myself developed, I brought it home for my mum to taste. My mum would taste it. If my mum said, and my father said, yeah, that doesn't taste right, I'd go back and say, no, we haven't got that right, got to change it.
Wonderful.
You know? Every single dish, I brought it home and said, Mum, can you taste that?
Wonderful. So between your mum and your kids, we know that the food is spot on.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So you say that, I know allergens are a big thing, and we've had lots of legislation that has ensured that allergens are well displayed. And I know now, unfortunately, with Natasha's law that's coming in October this year, that is going to, I think, get people focused on allergens again. So do you think this is a good opportunity for your product, a good opportunity when we're all talking about the need to display allergens, to have something that is free from?
To us, being allergen free wasn't that important. We just happened to be allergen free because we worked on it. What was important to us was it tasty? Was it authentically correct? Was it healthy? Oh, it's actually allergen free as well. We didn't make it into such a big deal. We just said, listen, it's allergen free, it's free from, but we don't actually talk about it a lot. We talk about it as an authentic, tasty, healthy concept. Just happens to be allergen free.
No, fair enough. And I suppose if it is allergen free and it ticks all those boxes, then the reach that you can put, in places that you can put your product into is just far wider, because then the end user doesn't have to worry, but neither does the client.
Absolutely. And we looked a lot. Sorry, we looked a lot at the makeup of a meal. So lots of times people can may say, I'm not a vegetarian, this is a completely vegan concept. Sorry, and what we tend to do is if I eat loads of vegetables, a salad and sort of thing, I feel hungry.
Yeah, me too.
Quite soon after, and I think, oh my God, I need some meat or I need some protein. Now obviously you need to really understand when you're eating vegetarian or if you're vegan, where your protein's coming from, where all these health, from lentils, from so on and so on. So we try to balance the menu to say, listen, if you have our kofta balls, which are made from different types of lentils, etc., you'll get the same protein value as if you were eating meat. So you'll still feel nice and full. Because I didn't want me to eat a plate of my own food and think, oh, I'm hungry. I need to eat something else. So we sort of put some thought into things like that.
And are you intending this to be a grab and go offer?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, fortunately, what we've got here is we've got a concept that's very easily grab and go, or it's just as easily to sit down at a table and eat it as a curry format. So you can eat it at the table as a curry, or you can have it as a grab and go. Depends on what part of the concept you want to play with. So we have dishes that you can. So we have like a Carty roll. Okay, so a Carty roll is a concept in Calcutta. Okay, so Calcutta is like a paratha. Okay, and what they do in Calcutta is they get their meat, and then they marinate it in spices and papaya. Okay, now that papaya really breaks down all the meat proteins and makes it into nearly a mush. So when they grill it, and then they put this, then they have the paratha, they put this almost moussey meat on with a little bit of salad, roll it, wrap it in newspaper, and they give it to you. Okay, so now what I've done is I've developed that, okay, and made it into a vegan version.
Wow.
You see, and then obviously that's from Calcutta, Carty roll. Now to go back a little bit, what I really want you to understand about Bombay Times is the way I've developed Bombay Times, and the reason why I developed Bombay Times the way I developed Bombay Times. I was born in India. You know, I came over here when I was still a baby. I was quite young when I came over. You know, the divide in India is enormous, enormous from the rich and the poor. And you still see it today. And Bombay Times as a concept, I developed it around 3 or 4 things. I developed it around a train, okay, and I developed it around a newspaper. Can I tell you why? And I tell you why I developed around these 2 things. Okay, in India you get the clubs, the fancy clubs, where the rich would go and they'll play their tennis and they go to their swimming pools, etc., etc., and they'll read the Times newspaper. Okay, it's one of the papers they would read. The next day, that same newspaper that the rich are using gets torn up into little squares, and it goes outside, and the street vendors on the street have these little sheets of newspaper where they'll do their street food, they'll put it in the newspaper, they'll wrap it up, and they'll give it to someone for you to eat. Okay, so I said, oh, okay, I see that the rich, and I see what people on the street would do. The train in India is that when you pull into a station and you're inside the train, all the vendors come with their foods wrapped up in this newspaper to the train window, and you buy the food through the train window.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so you buy, I want 3 kati kebabs and 4 samosas, put your money out, they'll send you the food. So I said, okay, I want to use this. I want to use this because a lot of Indians, a lot of Asians will relate to this from seeing it. And I said, for me, I'm taking a couple of different cultures, a couple of different people in India, the rich and the poor, and trying to bring them together. Okay, so what I did was I said, right, I called my concept Bombay Times. Okay, so the whole logo is based around India being very multicultural. So there's a compass. The words are written like temples in India, you know, and I put a double I in Times, and I put a knife and fork where the double I is, to say that actually it's slightly westernized.
Yes.
That's why I put the knife and fork there. And then we serve our food in the newspaper, and we've got our concept where we then serve the food through a train window. So you as a customer would come to the side of the train, and we've got our concept developed. So then we have our street food behind it, and we're giving you the food through the window. You know, so I'm trying to bring these cultures in India together in a concept to try to understand there's rich and there's poor, there's street food and there's regional street food. And if you don't know about it, it's just nice street food, in Indian street food. But when you see why I brought it together, you see why all these cultures come together.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. And that's what everyone is looking for, is an experience, something different, something authentic. We've been locked down for a very long time. So having an experience that has a story behind it, and there is a why, that adds a lot of value. And you mentioned that again, from the allergen-free side, it was a story about, you know, the hospitals and all the allergens that they have to deal with on a daily basis. You mentioned that was a story you wanted to touch back on.
Yes. I think what it was I was doing some consulting work in a hospital, and I sat around with probably 10 or 12 dietitians and nurses, and we all talked about the menu, the hospital menu, and the food they were eating, and all the different diets that the patients had to be on. And it absolutely amazed me how many different diets there are, and there's about 180 or more different types of allergens, different types of diets that people have to be on. And it absolutely amazed me. My daughter also has quite a lot of intolerances to type of food. And I remember I was just on the cusp of working on Bombay Times. And at the time, it was just a vegan concept, you know. And I was driving back from the hospital, which was down south, and it just came into my head, you know. I said, I wonder why don't I just make it into allergen free, because then more people can eat it. I said there'd be a whole load of people who would feel safe that they could eat it. And I said, you know, if I could develop a free from allergen free food that was actually really tasty and delicious, You know, I said, that's got to work for the people. I said, that's got to work for my daughter who struggles to eat a lot of food. She struggles to eat because her tummy gets upset. So I said, it's got to be a good thing that if I'm going to work on something, I want to work on something that's going to benefit as many people as possible, and it's going to benefit for the future. I want to think about the environment, and everything we do, we think about, is it okay for the environment? Are we doing any damage to the environment? You know, right down to the disposables we've had made of different carriers, you know, the inks we use, the paper we use, you know, is non-aggressive to the environment. I said it's our responsibility as people in a position developing concepts to make sure that we look after the concept, look after the environment for our children to enjoy.
Absolutely. And with it being vegan, I know veganism last 2024 it really took, you know, a whole new we went to new heights, and yours being vegan as well. Do you think veganism is here to stay? Do you think, I mean, some people last year and the year before were of the opinion that it's a trend, that people are going to you know, dip their toes in and dip out again? Do you think that veganism is a around for the foreseeable future?
Yes, I think finally, after many, many years, I think veganism is something that's slowly going to take a hold. It is going to slowly take a hold. I think vegan in a lot of places in Asia is their religion,
Mm.
you know, and it's their way of life, and it has been for the last 5,000 years.
Wow.
You know, in this country it was very much of a trend, and over the last, certainly for my cooking that I've done over the last 40 years, being a vegetarian was unusual 40 years ago. You
Being a
know,
South African vegetarian was never heard of.
yeah. um but in more so in the West was very much of a lifestyle choice. I would like to be, I would want to be, I should be, but you know what? There's not really a lot of tasty food out there to be a vegetarian or to be a vegan. I think we've all developed a lot. Vegetarian and vegan cooking in the West has developed a lot. I think the ethnic minority from other countries have brought in a lot of understanding of what vegan food is. I think finally vegan food is definitely got a hold, and it is only going to get bigger. Absolutely, it'll only get bigger.
And I know you've had lots of sort of corporate and owned your own businesses and been a very, very busy man. You're now an entrepreneur, and it's not been a great time over the last year. Many entrepreneurs have struggled for obvious reasons over the last year, but there's lots of exciting things happening. And I know changes in the high street, and some argue that maybe the high street needed to be changed, but changes all over the place. And do you think this is a great time for new food concepts, for new innovations, for new thinking in the food space?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, last year was very difficult. Was very difficult for everyone. I think what a lot, I think a lot of what's happened over the last years, over the last few years, is if you see there's a whole number of concepts that did have done very well over the last sort of 30 years or so, whether it's pizza concepts, whether it's pasta concepts, have done very well. But as I said, the children now eating want a better, more authentic pizza. The children now eating want a more authentic Italian. They want a more authentic Indian. So the concepts that we've had so far, actually now saying, actually, we can't do that. You know, the children want something more authentic. And what last year did was weed out a lot of the problems that were saying, actually, you know what, if we're going to go out, if we're allowed to go out, we're going to go out and get a really good bloody pizza, or we're
Yeah.
going to go out and get a really good Indian. We're not going to go to whatever pizza shop and just get an ordinary pizza that we used to maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So a lot of so a lot of the companies now developing concepts have to come up with something authentically correct, that's tasty at the right price, etc., because that's what the children want. That's what our, you know, that's what the 20, 25-year-olds and below, that's what they want. They want it to be correct, you know, because they've got the choices
Yeah.
to go, you see. And that's what's going to, so as an entrepreneur, if we're going to think about what we're going to do, how we're going to do it for the future, you know, we have to think slightly differently. We have to think that, okay, how do we get something authentically correct to 5 restaurants, to 10 restaurants, to 20 restaurants. How are we going to do that? Because currently, the model doesn't work. Currently, the model is not allowing us, the companies, to be able to get something authentically correct out.
Yeah.
So as an I can't even say the word now.
That's emotional entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to think, right, I've got this really great Indian concept. It's lovely. It's really delicious. How are we going to get that out to everyone? And it's still really, really delicious. And we work with our production kitchen for a year and a half. To make sure whatever we did was exactly right. The samosa. We must have gone through 30 or 40 different flours to find the one flour that we said, yes, we found the flour that does exactly what we want. Do we hand finish it or do we put it through the machine? We did both and said, no, it has to be hand finished. It has to be this and it has to be that, because the difference is enormous, absolutely enormous. With exactly the same recipe, going through the machine and doing it by hand, you get 2 completely different products. So hence why it's taken us this long to say, no, actually, this is what we want, this is how we want it, this is how the end product is, because I don't want the end product to suffer going through the machine.
Okay. And like you say, the model, we've argued this many a time, that the model has had to change for a very, very long time. And potentially now with this lockdown and COVID, businesses are rethinking their models and are going to have to embrace entrepreneurs and new food ideas and concepts and authenticity in a different way and adjust the model accordingly. It can't be that the model dictates anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. The difference is with street food vendors and entrepreneurs is they think from the bottom up. They think, is that food really delicious? Do we like it? Okay, we like that food. It's really delicious, but how do we prepare it? Then how we do? And unfortunately, with the bigger corporates, they think from the top down. Okay, how much money are we going to make on that product, and how's that going to work? And then work it down, and it just doesn't work. And that's why entrepreneurs have got these ideas and got these products that are just beautiful. It's just a matter of getting it to you in the way they want it.
Yeah.
And that's what takes the time. And that's why it's taking me two long years.
You're there now.
Yeah.
So yeah. Your wish for Bombay Times, if we finish on there, what is your ideal for the future for Bombay Times?
Oh my Lord. Well, it's to be able to get Bombay Times out to get people to understand actually that free from food, can be really, really delicious. Because every single person I speak to when I talk about free from food, oh, that's going to be bloody awful. That's going to be like cardboard. Yes, I know. Have a taste, and to understand that, taste Bombay Times, because you've got a beautiful, authentic street food offer that's really, really delicious. Oh, actually, it's allergen free as well, and it's quite healthy as well. But to us, it's really delicious food.
Yeah. It is re-educating the markets, because I think there are predecessors in the free from space who didn't do it justice. So having to re-educate the market, and also you're solving problems. You're solving problems if you are, and you're making people's lives easier in places like hospitals and in business and industry and office blocks. Being able to have something that everyone can enjoy together makes a big difference.
Yes. Absolutely. No, that's exactly it. I said we've got a full concept there where you can have a full meal. You can all sit down and have really delicious food all together. None of you have to worry about what's in it. Just eat it and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Just eat it and enjoy it. And on that note, we couldn't have finished in a better place. Mark, it's such a pleasure as always. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to taste it. I'm an avid lover of Indian food, and I'm a fan. So thank you. Wishing you such great success for the future.
Lauren, thank you very much, darling. Thank you very much.
I'll see you soon.
Okay, darling. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.